and the book, The Wrecking Crew. I just wanted to say a few words. Some of you are probably familiar with it, and that's why you're here. The Wrecking Crew is just a great sort of group biography of this group of musicians, studio musicians, that were in Los Angeles in the 1960s, who played on all kinds of hits that we know. And I think one of the most amusing stories in the book that I read was the recording session of Strangers in the Night with Frank Sinatra, with Glenn Campbell on guitar, and who would have ever put those two names together before? So I learned a lot by reading this, and Hal took a trip to Indianapolis to see one of the screenings of the movie that's not really quite out yet, and he's going to tell you all about it. So this is going to be fun. Thank you so much for bringing us.
No, thank you to Suzanne and Max Bass. So I think we pretty much all know one another, so we don't have to be too formal here. But I didn't know who was going to be here. If there are going to be a lot of strangers, or strangers that I don't know too, because there are strangers here. So, anyways, as Suzanne said, this is about the Wrecking Crew. I'm going to go back in time and tell you all about it, but essentially about my trip to Indianapolis a couple months ago. So with that, who am I? All right. So that's my picture, of course. That's who I am, and. What do I like? Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm not an author. And when I told Suzanne, and I called her and asked, "Can we do something?" I said, "I'm not an author. I'm just a regular, average guy. What do I like? I like bread and butter. I like toast and jam. Does anybody know why I like bread and butter and toast and jam?
Yeah, because you like that song.
The song. What's the song? But who sang the song, Stuart?
The New Beats.
The New Beats. All right. And I like walking in the rain, wishing on a star, and being so in love. The Ronettes. What's the connection with the Ronettes?
Jane the Americans.
Jane the Americans, right. We'll go with the Ronettes first. Okay, school yearbook. That's me. That's me behind the register, candid shot. So I worked in a record store for Aunt Helen, and I got exposed to a lot of different types of music. I zone in on basically the late 50s, early 60s. Maybe when you get to 1975, then I start drifting up. I don't know what anybody's talking about. But this is my zone. And Recordland Records, and Helen, big influence. So, what about me? So, with my little nonsense, and it falls in the category of nonsense, I've gone from meeting a son of a recording artist. Does anybody know who that picture is?
Tedesco?
No. Just because you own a bookstore doesn't mean you know everything. Frankie Avalon Jr., of course.
Oh.
You know Frankie Avalon. So Frankie Avalon Jr. and I have bonded in the past. Here, I'm meeting a granddaughter. Whose granddaughter? Not a musician, but I had a picture, so I thought it'd be.
It looks like Jack Benny.
That's a Jack Benny impressionist. Impersonator. And that's Jack's granddaughter, Joanna. Beautiful young lady. So I bonded with these kinds of people. So we're talking about me now. Again, it's about me so far. So becoming the Carpenters, Cher, Crystals, Darlene Love, Dean Martin, Diana Ross, Elvis Presley, Frank and Nancy Sinatra, Gary Lewis and the Playboys, never, feel like red buttons, never got a dinner, never played on a record. Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Glenn Campbell, they supported him when he became Glenn Campbell. Henry Mancini, they recorded with Henry Mancini. So all these people, John Denver, Johnny Rivers, Lauren Green, Ringo, the song Ringo, the Mamas and the Papas, the Monkees, Nat King Cole, Neil Diamond, Paul Revere and the Raiders, Petula Clark, Ricky Nelson, Righteous Brothers, the Ronettes, the Routers, the Supremes, Summer, all these people, Sonny and Cher. These musicians, who are not a formal band, but they played on all their recordings. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing fact. So, with the next thing, if you're looking at this document in your hands, but it's a listing of some of the songs, and it's only a partial listing of the songs that Hal Blaine, who is, let's say, the most celebrated of the musicians, that he's played on. And he played on 7 different drums, on 7 different Grammy Record of the Year recordings, which is an incredible statistic. He was not in one band. He backed up Simon and Garfunkel, backed up the Captain and Tennille, Fifth Dimension, just all these various groups. He happened to be the drummer because he was that celebrated, that renowned, that excellent. So that's a little bit quickly about who the Wrecking Crew is. So now how do I get connected with them?
Yeah.
So I read the book that Howard Ross recommended. Howard, she couldn't come with me. That was fine. So I went by myself. And that's okay. I can have a good time by myself, and maybe even a better time. So with that, Margie gave me a good big kiss goodbye. Safe travels. I will miss you, my beloved. So So I don't know who took that picture, but it's amazing. But it's one thing, after I saw that picture, it occurred to me that it really sort of resembles this shot from the Notebook movie. I don't know, there seems to be, I don't know, there's a resemblance. I don't know. But anyway, so with that, I left, went on my way to Indianapolis. So what do you take on a road trip? Essentials. My music. I had to have all my music in the car. And fortunately, the sound system that I have has some flexibility. I can have my flash drive, which has thousands of songs. I can have my phone, which has hundreds of songs. I have my CDs. I have my AM/FM. I have my XM series. I have anything anybody would want. Pandora, it's all there. I'm ready for a great trip by myself to go to Indianapolis to see the screening. And I had contact with Denny Tedesco, knew that I was coming, and he was thrilled that I was going to be making the trip, the director of the movie, and he said he would set aside a couple of tickets for me and whoever. I think he sort of figured it would just be myself, but he said he would set aside tickets. One thing I did not bring with me, Justin Bieber was not in my car. So, with that, I started to drive away, and I'm ready to sing the first song to myself. Willie Nelson, On the Road Again, traveling with my friends. It really didn't apply, so push that aside. Then I thought maybe Hit the Road, Jack, but it didn't work that either because no one's with me to sing that song. So then what comes up next? Alone Again, naturally. It was so fitting. Who'd believe this stuff? But anyway, so I continue on my journey, and I'm playing my songs, and I'm so excited. I have all my music. I'm dancing in the car, and I'm singing falsetto with the Bee Gees. I had the Bee Gees run through those harmonies. We all sing the song. We know the song.
Yeah.
Now run to me when you... What? We don't have to sing.
Yeah.
Okay. Darling, you run to me. Okay, so I sang with the Bee Gees. I harmonized with them. It was beautiful.
We don't know.
Splinter. Nobody knows this. Howard's sinking in his chair a little bit now. But I read on YouTube. You can find anything. There was a film that said these are the songs of 1975 that never made it that should have. This song by Splinter, never heard. Phenomenal song, Cost of Fine Town. You have to listen to it at some point in time. We're not going to do that now. But I sang with them. Bruno Mars, just to show that I have a little flexibility. I sang "Marry Me" with Bruno Mars. I was all over. I was having a great time. Crying. Roy Orbison was crying. I was crying. So it took me all the way through Indianapolis, wind up at the hotel Courtyard, which happens to be right across the street from this Edelgeorg Museum where the screening was going to be taking place. Phone calls. Nobody picked up the phone except Jeff Robbins, who was not here, by not a coincidence probably. But Jeff Robbins, another friend, picked up the phone. I told him, Jeff, I'm picking up Don Randy at the hotel. And it was hysterical because I would have paid to pick up Don Randy, and here, now I'm doing this guy a favor. So with that, I went to the hotel. I drove from the museum to the Residence Inn, which is a few blocks away. That's my car. There's a black Camry, and that's Don Randy. So I picked him up at the hotel. He was waiting for me in the lobby. He asked if I wanted a cup of coffee, wanted to sit with him a little bit. He doesn't move that fast. And I said, no, let's go. Because the movie starts at 4 o'clock. It's already a little after 3. So with that, drove him back to the museum, and we chatted a bit. Fascinating story. He's not profiled in the book, the Kent Hartman book, but he's just as interesting. All these guys have their past. He was raised in New York as a young kid. His father was in the Yiddish theater, and he himself performed in the Catskill Mountains as a teenager. So he has his own history. He played keyboards on all those songs, in tight with the Sinatra family, big deal. And he's retired now. He owns the Baked Potato. That's his nightclub that he owns in L.A., where musicians play. So he's still with the museum, connected to the music industry, and just a nice guy. So drove back, met Denny, and so not only though now, this is crucial now because everybody's bonding here. So not only am I friends with Don Randy, that's Don on the right, I'm on the left, right, left, but the three of us bonded together. The three amigos, Denny Tedesco, Don Randy, and myself were all together, and we spent the rest of the afternoon watching the movie. We were tight. It was amazing. Like, what am I doing here? How did this happen? But so 4 o'clock the movie starts, and it's at the museum, and it was sold out. They had 300 people, 400 people. It was a massive auditorium, and it was a heck of a showing. There's Don. He was passing out brochures. I had my hat on, so people thought I was connected, which I was in a sense now. I'm ready. But So I was passing out brochures, helping out in whatever way I could, and then the movie played. And this is just some shots which is sort of similar to what you saw in the trailer itself. But all these interviews with Dick Clark, Brian Wilson, Nancy Sinatra, Herb Alpert's in there, Lou Adler, Mickey Dolan, all these people are interviewed in the movie talking about the Wrecking Crew. And you also have the Wrecking Crew members that are still around. They're interviewed as well, and they talk about their experiences and how they became musicians and whatnot. So some shots of the various members. So at the end of the movie, it's meant to be a tribute to his father, and to close up, his father passes away. Tommy Tedesco, the guitarist, passes away before the film is finished, and during the course of it. And so Denny does voiceover on the movie, and it gets rather emotional. At least I thought so. And so it reminded me of what Maynard G. Krebs would say. Remember? Maybe nobody remembers Maynard G. Krebs, but gee, I'm getting work. Alan does, yeah, work. And, gee, I'm getting all misty. And it really was a touching moment, and you could feel Billy Henschey, the additional content he still wants to put in. He's still adding some elements to the movie, some stories, distribution plans, feature plans for himself. And then I threw in some stuff about Stan Ross. Who's Stan Ross? Does anybody know who Stan Ross is? Margie, who's Stan Ross?
Gold Star.
Gold Star Studios, of course.
Yeah.
Who's Gold Star? What's Gold Star Studios? That's where Phil Spector did all of his recordings. Phil Spector recorded the Ronettes, the Righteous Brothers, the Crystals, Sonny and Cher. They all recorded at Gold Star Studios. So eventually we got around to Stan Ross and my connection to Stan Ross, which is similar to Denny Tedesco's connection to Stan Ross. It's a small world. And lastly, Papa's Bag. I know some of you West Siders don't know what Papa's Bag is, but for East Siders, they might remember in the late 60s, that was the high school band at Cleveland Heights High School. Okay, that was the band. Like at Brush High School, we had the Cellmates. That was the band. Papa's Bag, I brought up Papa's Bag, and we'll get into that in a moment, how that ties into the story. But Papa's Bag from Cleveland Heights ties into the story. So, what about his conversation with his wife? You have to understand, this was an evening, as the day was progressing, I realized this is a phenomenal day. This is amazing. Who am I? And I'm bonding with somebody who's in the industry. I mean, he's not Steven Spielberg, but this is fascinating. We get in the car to go to the restaurant, and he calls his wife in California, Susie. And they start talking about the day, and that day their daughter had her first softball game. And they were talking that the daughter got a hit, and they were so excited. And it dawned on me that these are normal people. I mean, it's like anybody here in Cleveland, Ohio, have kids, playing ball or whatever. Sure, absolutely. I grew up across the street where Papa's Bag used to practice. So worlds are colliding. So Papa's Bag is now part of this whole adventure with the Wrecking Crew. And so it's just a wonderful evening. So again, the story is fascinating. My little adventure is special to me. I hope you realize how important it is to me. On a certain level, it's absolutely nonsense. Why am I, Ryan Gosling lookalike? Why am I going to Indianapolis to see this movie? But it was a phenomenal event. And just in spending time with Denny, and we've corresponded since then. We've talked. I told him that after working the details out with Suzanne, that the potential for doing this. I asked if he had a problem because I don't represent him. I'm not involved with him. And he said, no, I have fun with it. And he sent out brochures about the movie. And honestly, he's raising money. And I'm not here to raise money for him, but in the brochure there's an envelope. It goes to the Independent Film Association. It's a tax-deductible contribution. If you want to throw some money at the guy, at the movie, fine. It's as worthwhile as anything else. But it was great. So eventually, at the end of the day, congratulations for the best hat. He gave me that award. He actually gave me the hat. So, and on the way home, what happened on the way home? I listened to my music. What music did I listen to? Wrecking Crew music. So we had Jan and Dean. They played for them. We had the Monkees. We had the Grassroots. I mean, remember, these are all different bands. These same musicians played for all of them. It's amazing. Johnny Rivers, they backed up him. The Beach Boys, When I Grow Up to Be a Man. And one of my favorite songs, Baby I Love You, by the Ronettes. So with that, one last thing, last comment. He was disappointed. Why didn't he go to Indianapolis for a week? So there you have it.
Grammy night, tomorrow night. All right.
If you're interested, this is the clip. We're done.
Six records of the year, 7 total. So
Denny
let us
Hal
know which
Bogart.
one was your first.